and another effective one. Matthew breaks a tackle, breaks another, gets a block. There are no flags and the race is on. And Matthew goes 90.
Burrow with the snap. Here comes the blitz. Burrow steps away from it, throws, catch made! Justin Jefferson has it at the 38, racing down the far line, sideline, 10-5, touchdown Tigers!
Another play fake by Burrow, and a deep strike, and an open receiver, Jamar Chase, another touchdown!
Daniels pulls it, takes it himself, he's got the sideline! Jane Daniels off to the races! And a bang back inside, he takes it to the house! 85 yards for Daniel!
Go ahead and say it, Ed.
Go Tigers!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of the Geauxld Standard Podcast. I'm your host, Joe. Glad to be with you here on a Monday evening. Apologize about the Sunday episode not dropping. Your boy just didn't have an inning yesterday, and I wasn't going to give you guys a half effort on the episode. So took some time to rest, chill with the family and play with the baby. And then I wanted to gear up and get ready for you guys on Monday. So if this is your first time listening, please make sure you hit that like button if you like what you hear. Hit that subscribe button if you want to keep liking what you're hearing. Make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss what you like hearing right here. And remember, the LSU Geauxld Standard Podcast is the best place for your news, updates, and unsolicited comments from your boy. And we love purple, but it is all gold, baby. All right, let's get going. So on this episode, we're going to review the 3-day weekend from the Tigers baseball team who played in the Like Lou Jax Classic. We're going to talk about some LSU women's basketball. The Tigers did suffer a tough loss at the hands of South Carolina. We talked about it, but gritty game versus Ole Miss and a blowout against Mizzou. We're going to talk about that. And then to finish off the episode, we're going to go in depth against LSU's quarterback room. We're going to talk about Sam Levitt. We're going to talk about Houston Longstreet and talk about my favorite, Landon Clark. Do the Tigers have quarterback depth? These guys just body. What can we expect from the Tigers quarterback room coming up in 2026? But again, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching this afterwards, thank you for still coming in and listening to us afterwards. This is a Geauxld Standard Podcast, baby. All right, so the LSU baseball team is off to a 8-0 start. This past weekend, they swept Indiana by a score of 14-7. Notre Dame scored 9-4, and UCF by a score of 11-0 in the Like Lou Jax Classic. Something to note: the Tigers have participated in this tournament at least 2 times before. Both years, the Tigers went on to win the national championship. So the Tigers again won the Like Lou Jax Classic. Here's to the Tigers potentially going off and making it a trifecta and winning another national championship. So interesting to say, the offense looks like it's off to a blistering, smoldering start. The Tigers have outscored their opponents 33-11 in these 3 games this past weekend. The first game was 14-7 Indiana, which was on Friday. Big Daddy York had a 3-run home run. He also contributed 4 RBIs. You had 2 RBIs by Monster Milam, Braun, Seth Dardar, and Tanner Reeves all contributed 2 RBIs as well. Casey Evans, your starter Friday night guy, went 5 innings and struck out 4 batters. But Gavin Gidry was the guy to get the W. He came in the 7th, I think, and took over. The Tigers then continued to play. And Saturday, they played Notre Dame, and that game was 9-4. Notable from that game, Cade Aaron-Beatty had a 2-run home run. The starter, Cooper Moore, went 5.2 innings, 6 Ks. And then you had RBIs from Omar Cerner, and Seth Dardar. And last night, was a 11-0 run rule game against UCF. Your Sunday starter is William Schmidt. He did 5 scoreless with 7 Ks. Cade Beatty added another 2-run home run. We had RBIs from Trent Caraway, Braun, and Curiel as well. The Tigers play again against McNeese, 6:30 tomorrow night, Tuesday at the Box. So make sure you be there. My thoughts on the team so far, the offense, like I said, is off to a blistering start. The offense and bats are a little bit better than the pitching. Still some spots where LSU's leaving some runners in scoring position, but that just happens. That's baseball. It happens. It's frustrating. But I'd like to see a little bit better performance, especially from Casey Evans. Not that he's been bad, but maybe it's going to take him a minute. I want to see him and that Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianton, no doubt Friday guy, best in the country role. It's still early in the season. There's time for him to get going and get in a rhythm. Usually with Nate Yeskie, there are most years, his pitching does look a little rough in the beginning. But by the time the tournament comes, his teams normally they have an ace and if not 1-2, like they did last year with Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson. So yeah, the Tigers are looking like they're going to be a tough out. I know we got some tough teams in the SEC. You want to wait till the SEC starts before you make your decision on what you think of the team, because you got teams like Texas, you got teams like Mississippi State, A&M, Vanderbilt, you got Tennessee. You got a lot of good teams in the conference, and we'll find out exactly how good this team is in conference play. But again, the Tigers will play again on Tuesday evening, 6:30 at the Box versus McNeese. On to LSU's women's basketball. We talked about it a little bit. Tough outing against South Carolina. Some of the stuff that we talked about before came up and bit them. Turnovers, bad field goal percentage, terrible from the free throw line. But the Tigers were able to bounce back. They had a really, really gritty game versus Ole Miss. They won that one 78-70. LSU shot 48.3% from the field. They shot 33.3% from three. They shot 80% from free throw, and they were at one point down at the end of the third quarter. They were down 63-54 at the end of the third quarter, heading into the fourth. And I think they were down by as much as 14 to 16 points in the game. I can't remember exactly, but they were down by double digits plus at a point in this game. So you have to give them credit for fighting back, having some grit, showing some toughness, fighting back when they were down. Could have been easy to fold up the chairs and just go and say, hey, let's go do something else. But credit to the girls for stepping up and showing some gall, showing some heart-fought guts, showing some Tiger pride, and they were able to pull it out. Malaysia Fawali led the game, 26 points, 7 rebounds. Led LSU. I don't remember if she led the game. Would have had to have been either her or Cody McMahon. Flage pitched in 18 points against Ole Miss. And then I don't know what was going on with Michaela Williams in that game. I think she maybe had about 10 points, but I noticed when LSU won the game, how she was kind of sitting over on the sidelines beside Moki. The other girls were celebrating. She wasn't really in it. And look, that happens. I've been a player before when I've gotten pulled. It isn't a nice thing, but that isn't something that you want to see from one of your leaders of your team. So hopefully it's just a bad spot for Michaela. She's in a bit of a rough patch here in the last few games. Hopefully she's going to turn it on by the time we head to the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament, because you're going to need Michaela Williams to deliver. I was talking to my dad about this, and I said the bad thing about the LSU women's basketball team is that neither Flage, Malaysia Fawali, or Michaela are consistent enough to be a one option all the time. But the thing is that at any moment in time, either of them can go off for 25 to 30 points, which is again, it's good and bad. Do you like that? I don't necessarily like that I can't count on 15 to 17 to 20 between Malaysia, maybe not even Malaysia because she's a 6 man, but at least from Flage and Michaela, I expect about 17 to 20 points a game from them. I don't think either of them are at that average. And look, that the Tigers have more depth than they normally have. I'm sure Kim was gonna tighten leash by the time the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament comes, window down that lineup. I hope she doesn't. I'm just going on what she normally does. But I continue to ask for more time for the freshman, Zakiya Johnson, Grace Knox, and Bella Hines. I think you'll need something individually from all three of them in order for the Tigers to win the national championship this year. I think at some point those three ladies will step up and need to step up and have a big game. Okay. Individually. Then maybe not one game, but spot here, spot there is what I'm saying. And then last night the Tigers played the Mizzou Tigers, and this was a blowout. They won by a score of 108-55. They shot 46.9% from the field, 41.4% from three, 87% from free throw. They out-rebounded Mizzou 69-21. They had 23 assists as a team, 8 steals, 7 blocks, still 15 turnovers that I don't like. Malaysia Fulwale, 22 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. Zakiya Johnson, 17 points, 14 rebounds. Flau'jae Johnson, 16 points. Michaela Williams, 12 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. And Jada Richard, Kate Koval, and Bella Hines all scored 10+ points as well. You can take something, but I don't take much from games like these. I know with the Lady Tigers that they are front runners. When I say that, it's not a bad thing, but if they want to just overwhelm a much less talented team, they can do that. But in the games like this, they can have 15 turnovers and still win by 50 because Mizzou doesn't have the talent to match you and make you pay for those mistakes in that type of way. My concern is that you had a game where you won by 50 and have 15 turnovers. In those games against the South Carolinas and the Texases and, the better teams in the NCAA tournament, you aren't going to be able to have 15 turnovers and win by 50 points. It's not going to be possible. So that's when I always question these games. We need to tune up and tighten up on the small details. Like I said, in the big games, it's usually the small details that have beaten LSU. Unless they've had games where they just straight out got beat. I mean, a couple years ago with Caitlin Clark, they just couldn't do anything with her. But in a lot of the close games where the Tigers do lose, it's, we miss a free throw or we have a turnover or we can't score for 5 minutes or, just a dumb mistake or a dumb foul or something like that. It's just always something. So the Tigers have to clean up mentally. They got to clean up physically with all the turnovers. But, yeah, they were able to overwhelm Mizzou, which they can do. If they get out on you early and you don't stop them or if you don't give them a punch back, they're going to run you out of the gym. So they definitely ran Mizzou out of the gym the other night. The Lady Tigers will resume play, I think, on Thursday, and they play number 21 Tennessee at the PMAC. So, yeah, again, I didn't even say this about the baseball team, but the baseball team looks like an amazing team. If they get the pitching together with how this lineup is hitting 1 through 9, the Tigers are going to be a problem. And then as far as the ladies are concerned, if they can clean up the errors, the mental mistakes, not make crazy turnovers, and get consistent scoring from their leading players, they're going to be a problem and a tough out in the tournament. All right, let's get to it. LSU's quarterback depth. So as you know, Coach Lane Kiffin rebuilt the entire quarterback room this season. Previously, the Tigers had Garrett Nussmeier. They had MVB, Michael Van Buren, and they had Colin Hurley. Nussmeier's off to the league. Michael Van Buren went to South Florida. Not sure if Colin Hurley landed anywhere yet, but the Tigers completely revamped that room and went from those three guys to now Sam Levitt, who's the prized possession of the transfer portal, Hassan Longstreet, talented backup from USC, and then one of my favorite guys to watch on film, Dynamite Landon Clark. So we're just going to talk about these guys a little bit more in depth than we have before. Some of this information you've heard before because we talked about it in the transfer portal cycles, but just a little bit more deeper dive on who these players are, what kind of numbers they put up, and what you can expect from them. All right, so up first we got Landon Clark, who transferred in after 2 years at Elon. So what I did, and some of this may not be reliable, but I tried my best to find some of their high school stats, specifically with Hassan and Landon, because we haven't seen them play at the D1 college level before, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. So as a junior in high school, Landon Clark had 3,300 yards passing, 52 total touchdowns completed. That's passing and rushing combined. His senior year, he threw for over 4,300 yards and had 71 combined total touchdowns. So you have a guy that's got electricity in those legs because you got a lot of total touchdowns, which we've talked about before. You got a guy with a big arm if you haven't seen him on film. the improvisation, the Johnny Manziel, Diego Pavia game that you just can't teach. He seems to have that on film. Again, we want to see it translate to the SEC and LSU, but when I look at him on film, that's what I see. Last year at Elon, he went 155 of 277 for 56% completion, 2,321 yards passing, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 614 yards on the ground, and 11 touchdowns. All right, so you had a guy that had 30 touchdowns. He also was the co-offensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year. Sorry, the CAA co-offensive rookie of the year for D2. Like I said, he's got a huge arm. He's dynamic. The playmaking is there. The legs. If you go look at his highlight film, there's a huge, big 80-yard throw that he just puts all arm into it. That if you like that kind of stuff, it's going to wow you on the film. And you're going to be very pleased with it. What do I expect from Landon Clark? I expect Landon Clark to enter the season as the number 3 quarterback on the depth chart. Now, Sam Leavitt is probably not going to participate in the spring, and I think Coach Kiffin said that he's getting closer to being healthy, but they were going to sit him out for a lot of the OTA stuff, the team stuff. He was going to sit out until he was fully ready. I expect Landon Clark to complete his tail off. I expect him to push Hassan Longstreet for the number 2 backup spot. Not sure if I'm ready to call him winning it because Hassan is talented. But I think if you're looking at this from the outside in, if you're saying that this guy is just the 3rd string quarterback and he's going to be happy with that, go watch his film. Go watch an interview with him. He's got moxie. You just can't count for a guy that has the moxie and that has the dog in him that looks like this guy has on film. Again, it is against D2 competition, so you have to scale it. But I'm looking at talent. I'm talking about talent with my eyes. I can see he's clearly the best player on the field. He carries himself that way. He knows it, and he thinks he's the best quarterback in this room. So I expect him to push both Hassan Longstreet and Sam Leavitt going into the season. Speaking of that, Hassan Longstreet, former 5-star guy. He transferred in from USC. He spent a year at UFC, and he has 4 years of eligibility left. And I think Landon has 4 years as well because they give you 2 years for – I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me on Landon's. I didn't look his up. But I know for sure Hassan has 4 years of eligibility left. So as a sophomore in high school, Hassan Longstreet had 3,941 yards passing, 40 touchdowns. As a junior, he had 3,013 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 645 yards rushing with 7 rushing TDs. And then as a senior, I think he got hurt. He had to have gotten hurt his senior season because the stats went way down. He had 1,641 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 4 picks, 494 yards on the ground with 6 TDs. I didn't look into it, but just looking at it, he had to have some sort of injury because the numbers dropped significantly and he was still a 5-star. So you know there had to be some sort of injury or something involved in that. Again, a huge upside guy, very accurate. He does have some moxie. More well known for his accuracy, more so than just a big arm like Landon. Landon has probably the biggest arm out of the 3. Hassan's going to be more of a dot sort of guy. He's going to be more of a putting the ball exactly on the spot. And his size, let's see. Didn't talk about the guy's size, pause. Let's see. So Landon Clark is showing on the roster at 6 feet, 186 pounds. All right. So he's more of a smaller guy. He's got that Drew Brees build, a little taller than Diego Pavia type of deal. So yeah, he fits right in with that prototype. And then Hassan Longstreet is probably a little bit bigger guy. They got him measuring at 6 foot as well. All right, so both of these guys, they got Hassan Longstreet 6 foot, 200 pounds. Okay, so he's a little bit more girthier. Pause again than Landon Clark, and I think Sam Leavitt is taller. Yeah, Sam Leavitt is coming in at 6'2", somewhere between 205, 210. All right. So with Hussein, I expect, and if you look at him on film, now we're talking about prototypes. So think more of the Damon Williams type that Coach Kiffin was after, quarterback from Washington. Hussein's going to be more in that build, more like that build with a nice, accurate arm with some good wheels. I don't know if he's quite athletic as Damon Williams is, but that's the sort of prototype guy we're talking about. I'm expecting Hussein Longstreet off the cusp to be the quarterback of the future. If the year goes like Sam Levitt wants to, I expect him to leave. And I think just based off the cuff, I think Hussein Longstreet is LSU's quarterback of the future. And then also you have Pop Houston coming in next year. But I think the initial reins will go to Hussein Longstreet next year. Would it surprise me if Landon Clark makes him work for it? Again, it wouldn't, because I've already told you that he's going to do that. So would it surprise me? Not at all. But if I got to put money on it, I would say Hussein Longstreet is your starting quarterback of the LSU Tigers in the 2027 season. All right, last but not least, the crown jewel of LSU's transfer portal class, alongside Prince. I said I'm not going to mess up his last name, and Jordan Seaton. All three of those guys are 5 stars. But quarterback is the most important position in sports, and specifically in football, quarterback is the most important position. So the Tigers were able to pull off Sam Levitt. Sam, I don't have any high school stats on him because he has played D1 college ball, so I'm going to go off his college stats. He originally committed to Michigan State out of high school, transferred to Arizona State in 2023. Arizona won the Big 12 championship when they were predicted to be pretty bad, and also made it to the college football playoffs. So you have a guy that has Big 12 championship experience and championship game, and you got playoff experience as well. And he played very well in that game against Texas, if you remember. Made it sort of a game for a while there. I'm projecting him as a starter. Here in my notes, I have high upside, high ceiling. Like if he puts it all together, he could be potentially a first-round draft pick for the NFL draft next season. So in 2023, in Sam's awesome year when he was fully healthy, got Arizona State to the college football playoffs. He was 216 of 350, 61.7 completion percentage for 2,885 yards. He had 24 touchdowns, 6 picks, a 150.2 quarterback rating, 443 yards rushing on the ground with 5 touchdowns. And last season, he got injured early on in the season, so he didn't complete a full season, but he had 145 attempts. 145 out of 239 attempts, 60.7 completion percentage, 1,628 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 INTs, 127 quarterback rating, 306 rushing yards with 5 touchdowns. So in the last 2 seasons combined at Arizona State, Sam Levitt had 4,513 passing yards, 34 TDs, 9 INTs with a 141.6 passer rating. His game reminds me a lot of Jackson Dart. He's not as big as Jackson Dart. He's more slender. But Jackson Dart's game, to where he's got underrated legs, doesn't have the biggest arm, doesn't have the most accurate arm, but he can do some things. In the Lane Kiffin offense, we saw what he did. Lane Kiffin transformed him into a first-round pick. He came out of USC as well in college. So what are my expectations of Sam Levitt? I'm going to say fully healthy, because obviously that's the caveat that we have. If he isn't fully healthy, all this goes out the window. But I think if Sam Levitt is healthy, you can expect a Jackson Dart-esque type of season. And let's just look this up let's look at Jackson Dart last season at Ole Miss stats. Last 2 quarterbacks Lane Kiffin had. So in the 2024 season, Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart set the single season school record with 4,279 passing yards, 180.7 passer rating, added 29 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He also rushed for 495 yards, 3 touchdowns, finishing with a 69.3 completion percentage. That's what I expect. That's what Lane Kiffin normally gets out of his quarterbacks. And let's look at Trinidad Chambliss. Stats last season. All right, so Trinidad Challenge's 2025 stats. 294 out of 445 for a 66.6 completion percentage, 3,937 yards, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And again, remember, Trinidad did not start the first game of the season. He came in later. Austin Simmons was a starter. Austin Simmons got hurt. Trinidad played and did not relinquish his position. So, I mean, that's what you expect. 4,000 yards basically for both guys, low interception numbers, 66 to 70% completions percentage. That's what I expect from Sam Levitt. And it's not necessarily a Sam Levitt thing. I'm just giving you the statistics of the last 2 Lane Kiffin quarterbacks that played. They both threw for 4,000 yards. They both for over 66% completions. The touchdown to interception ratio numbers were amazing. So that's the bar that I'm setting for Sam Levitt. And if Sam Levitt does have one of those type of years with the talent that LSU has on the offense, with what they've done in the transfer portal to fill out some holes, especially on defense, I think that you are cooking with grease. So what do I expect out of this quarterback room? I expect it to be one that has great depth and great talent, something that we have not been able to say at LSU in a long time. When have we had our quarterback on the future? Ryan Perrilloux maybe was the last one where we had our no doubt young quarterback of the future on the roster. When have we had a guy like Sam Levitt that was going into the season, had previously projected as a first-round quarterback? Don't know if we've had it. Maybe not since, I don't even know where Jamarcus was projected his year, but I'm talking about going into the season, going into 2019. Joe was not projected as a first-round pick. Sam Levitt has already been projected prior to his injury to have potential first-round talent, okay? So I expect you to have a first-round quarterback. I expect you to have the quarterback of the future, and I expect you to have a dog that's going to make sure everybody stands on their P's and Q's. And that, ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy Doe. I'm signing off on the podcast. Thank you for joining me again. Your appreciation. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. All the views, all the likes, all the shares. Make sure you follow me on social medias. It's all right there. Make sure you get in the comments and interact with your boy. Jump in there on TikTok. I'm most active there. I'm going back and forth with fans and, people who watch the page and follow the page all the time. Again, thank you so much for the support. I'm nothing without the support. Continue to run up those subscribe numbers. Continue to run up those likes. Share the podcast with somebody if you were able to enjoy it. Make sure you share it with another Tiger fan, because here at the Geauxld Standard Podcast, we love purple, but it is all gold, baby. And remember, I aim to be your number one source for LSU news, updates, and unsolicited comments from your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful week and a happy Monday evening. Again, the Tigers play Tiger baseball Tuesday evening, ladies basketball on Thursday night. Y'all have a great night. Tell them I said play Nick.